If you walked into a casino and a machine spun for you without telling you the odds, without checking your age, and without a single law stopping it, you'd call that illegal. Now open a game. Same machine, different name, nobody's checking anything. Loot boxes aren't gambling, they're worse. Strip away the animation, the sound effects, the confetti, and here's what's actually happening. You pay real money. In exchange, you get a randomized reward. You don't know what you're getting until after you've already paid. That's it. That's the entire mechanic. Publishers don't call them loot boxes anymore. They call them capsules, card packs, surprise mechanics. And we'll get to exactly why that last one exists later. AAA studios have built entire economies around this one loop. And this loop has a name outside of gaming, a variable ratio reward, the same mechanism a slot machine uses. So here's the claim: not loot boxes are like gambling. Worse than gambling, 3 reasons. Here's where things get uncomfortable. Casinos check ID. You cannot walk in as a 12-year-old and pull a slot lever. But loot boxes live inside games rated for children as young as 7. No ID check, no age gate, just a purchase button. And it gets worse from there. In most of the world, casinos are legally required to publish their odds. In most regions, there is no equivalent law for loot boxes. Publishers simply aren't required to tell you the odds at all. But here's the part almost nobody thinks about. A casino has a physical wall around it. You have to travel there, walk in, sit down. A loot box is one tap away mid-game while you're already emotionally invested in a match you're trying to win. Take away the age check, take away the disclosure, take away the friction. What's left isn't a lighter version of gambling, it's a purer version of it. If this were one bad game, you could call it an outlier. It isn't. Here's the same mechanic in 4 completely different games across 3 completely different genres. First, Star Wars Battlefront II 2017, unlocking a single hero, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, could take around 40 hours of grinding, unless you paid. When a player complained on Reddit, an official EA account replied that the system was designed to give players a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking heroes. That comment became the most downvoted post in Reddit's history, over 600,000 downvotes. Second, Diablo Immortal 2022. Independent calculations put the cost of fully upgrading a single character's gems at around $110,000. It went on to become the worst user-rated game in Metacritic's history. One reviewer at Dexerto called its Crest system possibly one of the most predatory microtransactions they'd ever seen. Third, FIFA's Ultimate Team mode, same loop, sports game skin, card packs, random players, real money. It's popular enough that it's been investigated by regulators in Belgium and fined directly by a Dutch court. We'll get to that in a minute. Fourth, and this is where it stops being a metaphor. Counter-Strike skins can be traded for real money. That turned into literal third-party gambling sites built entirely around them. In 2016, 2 YouTubers were caught secretly owning one of these sites, CS:GO Lotto, while filming themselves winning on it for their own subscribers without ever disclosing they owned it. The FTC settled with them the following year, and the agency stated plainly that people need to know when influencers are being paid to promote something. So why does this work so well, even on people who know exactly what's happening? There's a documented behavioral mechanism behind it, the variable ratio reward schedule. Here's the short version. If a reward comes every single time you do something, your brain gets bored of it. But if the reward is random, sometimes nothing and sometimes something big, your brain can't predict it. And a brain that can't predict a reward does something specific. So it keeps trying. This is the same mechanism behind slot machines, behind scratch cards, behind pull to refresh on your phone. Loot boxes didn't invent this. They imported it directly into games built for children, and game designers go further. Ever pulled a loot box and landed 1 tier below the rare item? That's called a near miss. And research on slot machines shows a near miss can trigger almost the same brain response as an actual win. Your brain doesn't clearly register that you lost. It registers that you almost won, so you pull again. So if this mechanism is this well understood, why is it still everywhere? Some countries didn't wait to find out. In April 2018, Belgium's Gaming Commission concluded that paid loot boxes qualify as games of chance under the country's gambling law, and threatened publishers with fines up to roughly 800,000 euros and up to 5 years in prison for non-compliance. The response was mixed. Blizzard and Valve stripped paid loot boxes out of Overwatch and Counter-Strike for Belgian players. Square Enix pulled several mobile games out of Belgium entirely. Rather than comply, Nintendo shut down Animal Crossing Pocket Camp there for the same reason. Even Diablo Immortal, the game from our earlier example, Fox, remains banned in Belgium to this day. The Netherlands went further with EA specifically, fining the company roughly 10 million euros in 2020 over FIFA's Ultimate Team packs. EA appealed, and in 2021, where Dutch court overturned that fine. Meanwhile, in the United States, multiple state bills have been introduced to regulate loot boxes as gambling. Almost all of them stalled. No federal law currently treats them that way, which means the exact same mechanic can be criminally prosecuted in one country, quietly reversed in the next, and completely unregulated in a third. And this is where it connects to something bigger than just one mechanic. June 2019, EA's Vice President of Legal and Government Affairs sits in front of the UK Parliament's Committee on Immersive and Addictive Technologies. She's asked directly whether loot boxes are gambling. Her answer, she won't even call them loot boxes. She calls them surprise mechanics and compares them to Kinder eggs. She tells the committee the system is quite ethical and quite fun. The committee didn't buy it. Months later, their report recommended that loot boxes be brought under the UK's existing Gambling Act. That recommendation still hasn't become law. The government's response was to open a call for evidence, more research, more review, no binding rule. The mechanism doesn't change, only the name does, and the clock keeps resetting, United Territory, every time it does. So here's where this leaves us, a mechanism that exploits a known psychological weak point, marketed to players as young as 7, repeated across shooters, sports games, mobile RPGs, and skin markets alike, renamed every time regulation gets close. If this exact system existed outside of a video game menu, you wouldn't call it a surprise mechanic. You'd call it what it is. So, if this wouldn't be legal in a casino, why is it normal in a game menu?